All right, what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to another Extra SROS video. So yesterday we had Shams Charania of ESPN kind of break the news to us that Giannis is going to be meeting with the Milwaukee Bucks over the next few weeks to discuss his future in Milwaukee, and would a trade end up being something that they are going to agree on? Because we know in the offseason that it was actually, didn't really come out at the time, but it came out later in the offseason that Giannis did say that pretty much his only kind of trade destination he would want to go to was the New York Knicks. So we're going to talk about just Giannis Antetokounmpo trade ideas here. You can obviously see the title and the thumbnail of the video. So we've done this with the Clippers, we've done this with Anthony Davis, we've done this with the Kings, and now today we're going to do this with Giannis. We're just going to kind of workshop Giannis trade ideas. What teams could could make the most sense at the end of the day, and we're going to operate it on like Giannis would be open to going to any of these teams. Probably not, and I'll mention that throughout these teams. Like, I don't think Giannis would be thrilled about going to, like, I don't know, Sacramento or New Orleans or some of these smaller markets. It does feel like Giannis has hinted that he would want to play in a big market. Now, I'm not sure if that's really going to matter. I don't know where his line is at a big market. I'm going to assume Miami's a big market. I don't know if Atlanta's a big market, but we're going to get to both those teams today. And then, like always, let me know any of your thoughts about the Giannis rumor that came out. Do you think Giannis will eventually get traded? Do you think it will happen in the offseason? And what team do you think makes the most sense? Because the Milwaukee Bucks did just have a freaking fantastic win yesterday against the Detroit Pistons. Honestly, hats off to Ryan Rollins, and everybody kind of stepped up when Giannis went out 3 minutes into the game. All the trade rumors circulating all day. This could have been rock bottom, and they beat the Detroit Pistons. Was it on the road as well? No, it was at home, yeah. But Giannis gets hurt 3 minutes in. It looked like he slipped on the court, but it ends up being a calf strain. It was very similar to an injury he had a couple years ago, it looked like. So we'll see how long he's going to be out for. I don't know if it's a calf strain. I think it is a calf strain. But thank God it's not what the word that starts with an A, because now you're losing all Giannis trade value, and this is turning into the worst, I think, position group in the NBA, or their worst future by far. It's already a dark future. So you kind of look at this roster, right? And it's Giannis under contract, who's extension eligible in October of 2026. So I always said, if you go to Giannis with an extension, which you will in October of 26, and he says, I want to wait, I'm not ready, I'm not fully on board with it, you trade him. You cannot, absolutely not run the risk of Giannis leaving for nothing, because this could set your franchise back. This could have been what happened in OKC with Kevin Durant, but Sam Presti was able to pivot to Paul George. Obviously Russ was there. So they were in a way better spot than where Milwaukee is right now. They also own no draft picks directly till 2031. So in 2026, it's a swap worst with New Orleans, which, hey, New Orleans wins the lottery and you pick 5, you get the 5th pick. Not that bad. 2027, it's also a swap. 2028, it's a swap with Portland. 2029, it's a swap. 2030, it's a swap. I didn't realize they're all swaps. So you actually get a first rounder every single year. Actually, I'm not sure. No, I don't know. These are all saying Spotrack's been weird with this, so I don't know if that's fully true. If they're all swaps, that's actually not the worst thing in the world. But it's not great, but at least you're not just giving them out directly. So you look at this roster, right? They waive and stretch Damian Lillard to go out and sign Miles Turner to a 4-year deal. You got Kuzma for 2 more years. You have Bobby Portis for 2, potentially 3. And then everybody else is kind of a 1-year deal with a player option. Rollins, thank God for you guys. You gave him an extra year because he's probably playing like a guy worth $20 million a year. AJ Green does have an extension kicking in a little bit. Kicks in 2027, I believe. And then some other veteran minimum contracts on your team. So you don't have any bad long-term money, really, which is nice. Kuzma's, I guess, maybe the least appealing deal because it's $20 million next year, but he's actually not been that bad this year for Milwaukee. You look at Milwaukee this year, who is what? They're 18th in net rating, 16th in offensive rating. I mean, this has kind of been a couple years leading up to this, right? With it all came crashing down when we figured out the Damian Lillard trade was not going to work out, because you traded away Drew Holiday, you traded away Grayson Allen, and you basically traded away every single pick that you had left to move for the short term, for the near term. And then you traded away Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, and another swap for Kyle Kuzma, which didn't work out last year. I will say Kuzma's probably better for you this year than Middleton would have been. And maybe it gives you an additional asset for one more year. So now let's get into these trade ideas, right? We're going to talk New York Knicks first, because that's the team that's been linked the most to Giannis. Now, the Knicks, better lack of term, like they blew their load going out and getting Mikal Bridges, trading away all their draft picks for Mikal Bridges when they could have definitely used those in a Giannis trade. Now, who knows if Giannis was ever going to be made available? Who even knew if Giannis would want to go to the Knicks? Yes, hindsight is 2020, but I remember when the Knicks made that Mikal trade, they were about to lose Hartenstein. They were trying to keep him, and Mikal wanted kind of out in a way in Brooklyn. He wanted to come to the Knicks. The Knicks had to probably give Brooklyn an additional first or two because they were not going to trade him within the division, crosstown rival, and all that. And Mikal has been good for the Knicks. He has, and that's why he got extended. He's not going to be a number one, but he's a damn good complementary piece to Karl-Anthony Towns and Brunson. Now, if Giannis actually says the one thing, like, so the Knicks do not have as good of a package as Atlanta, as OKC, as Houston, San Antonio, some of those other teams, maybe even Miami. But the one thing Milwaukee somehow can work with, if Giannis says, I only want to sign an extension with the Knicks. Now, I don't know why he preferred only the Knicks in the offseason. I don't know if it's just the big market. I don't know if he likes New York a ton. Like, he's from Greece and he's played in Milwaukee his whole career. I don't know what his attachment would be to New York, but there's concrete evidence of him wanting to play in New York. So I'm not just saying this, like, even as a Knicks fan, like, there was the ESPN article from Shams that, like, the Knicks called, Giannis said he would want to go to the Knicks, but the Knicks didn't have a serious offer. And I don't know if the Bucks will actually trade Giannis, but if they would, this would only happen if, like, the Bucks do Giannis a solid and they're like, we'll send you to where you want to go. Like, we're going to build a statue of you outside of our arena one day. I want this, like, I don't want to see Giannis get traded. I want to see him finish his career in Milwaukee. I think it's really cool. I think, like, looking back in history, I synonymize Dirk with the Mavericks. I will with Steph and the Warriors. I do that with Duncan and the Spurs. LeBron, like, I don't really, like, it's probably Cleveland in a way, and I do picture, like, the Heat teams that I will with the Lakers one day, but obviously it's Kobe with the Lakers, guys that spend their whole careers with the team. Probably Jokic with Denver. So I don't want to see Giannis get traded, but if he does, they would have to really do him a favor and send him to the team he wants to go, and he can obviously stronghold some other, like, teams and be like, I'm only signing an extension with the Knicks. So clear one-to-one salary would be Karl-Anthony Towns. It gets there pretty close financially. Now, the Knicks are very close to the second apron. So it would be tough at first to get this to work in a way. Like, you could do technically Bakomi Daddier and Cat just to make the money work. And then you would basically have to trade every single swap on swap. So you would send, like, a swap with Brooklyn and New York in all those years. You would send all your first round picks. Yeah, like, you're basically trading away every tradable first round pick. So the 2032 one, and then you would have to swap it every other year, basically. Like, this isn't really that appealing if I'm Milwaukee at all. Like I said, it really only comes down to if Milwaukee's doing him a solid. Now, what we could also do is when Mikal is trade eligible on February 1st, we could send Mikal Bridges and Cat for Giannis and Kyle Kuzma. Now, I guess Bakomi.a can also be in this trade. You would also have to do every single draft pick under the sun. And now Milwaukee has at least two good players coming back. I mean, I don't think Milwaukee's competing for an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, but you could maybe talk yourself into Cat and Turner in the front court. You'd have Ryan Rollins and Mikal Bridges, and then you'd figure out, like, one more guy going forward. You'd get all this draft capital from the Knicks. You might get a top 10 pick this year if you finish in the top 10, because the Pelicans are definitely going to, and it's a swap worst. So that is something, right? You can also, I think, do OG Anunoby as well. The money gets pretty intense with this one because OG's making a decent amount more than Mikal this year. I don't even think you could do Kuzma in this deal to make, or no, you can. Kuzma makes the money work. So they may prefer OG Anunoby over Mikal Bridges. Now, your defense takes a hit here on the perimeter because OG is by far and away your best defender. I mean, I'm trying to think about it for the Knicks. Like, your title team is, say they do this one, it's Brunson, Hart, Bridges, Giannis. I mean, because you don't really want Kuzma. So I don't even know if Giannis, like Mitchell Robinson, but you probably don't do that because of floor spacing. So maybe you play Giannis at the 5, and then it's like Brunson, Deuce, Hart, Bridges, Giannis, with Mitchell Robinson off the bench, Jordan Clarkson, Shamet when he's back, Gershon. I don't know. You're really banking on star power. And if you do the Bridges one, you would basically have, and I guess you would have Kuzma off the bench in this scenario as well. If you do the Kuzma one, Bridges one, it would be Brunson, Hart, Anunoby, or it would be Brunson, McBride, Bridges, or no, sorry. You're keeping Anunoby, sorry. So you're doing Brunson at the 1, you're doing like McBride at the 2, Hart at the 3, Anunoby at the 4, and Giannis at the 5. Like Giannis and Anunoby is a great defensive tandem. McBride will run around defensively. Bridges will run around defensively. It really depends. Like, I don't know who's more important to the Knicks, OG or Bridges. Like, Bridges is making less, but I think OG's defense is a little bit more important. But OG has had his injury concerns in a way. Like, last year he wasn't hurt, but 2024 he got hurt. Now he's hurt. Same hamstring injury both times. And Mikal Bridges has never missed a game in his career. So that could also incentivize the Knicks of wanting to keep Mikal. Obviously, buddies with Hart and Brunson. Now, you could probably do, like, Cat and Josh Hart as well. Like, I don't know. Why? I just, like, it's very tough for me to think that Milwaukee wants to keep this at all. Like, wants to do anything like this, unless you're really doing him a solid. Like, you could do Cat and Josh Hart, which I think could get pretty close financially. And then say you do, like, Gershon in this deal. I think this should work. No, this doesn't work. Okay, this doesn't work because we're about hard cap by 600K. So it gets very tough if you're doing Hart. I guess you can also do this without Cat in a way. Obviously, this would not be Kuzma, and I'm sure the Knicks would like to reroute Kuzma somewhere else. Easier said than done. But can you do Bridges and Anunoby for Giannis? And I don't know. I'm sure Milwaukee would probably want Cat coming back because this really, like, the offense isn't that appealing with Anunoby and Bridges, although it's a really good wing duo coming back. So that's the Knicks idea. Like I said, it's not one of the best ones by any means. It's really if Milwaukee will do Giannis a solid and send him to the Knicks. And the Knicks really got to gut their draft capital as well in a trade. So we can honestly just stay in the East. I think one of my favorite ones really comes down, like the Atlanta Hawks, I think have so much flexibility in a Giannis trade. So there's 2 ways you can go about this. You could start it with Trae Young. Like Trae Young, and you sign him to an extension, he will elevate your floor in Milwaukee. That is for sure. Like, say you do Giannis and you do, like, I don't know, Kevin Porter Jr., because they're not trading Ryan Rollins. So say you do, I don't even know if they want to trade Kevin Porter Jr., honestly, the way he plays. So say you do, like, Cole Anthony, just a point guard coming back to Atlanta. So Giannis for Trae Young actually works straight up. And then you would do, I think you'd have to throw in, like, oh, man, you're going to throw in the Pelicans pick, for sure. So you're giving them now Milwaukee owns the Pelicans first round pick, basically unprotected because they also own their end of the swap. You're giving up Trae Young, who they would extend. You're giving up, I don't know, you're going to have to give up like probably Risashe in this deal as well, I think. And this actually does work financially. So you're getting the number 1 overall pick in the 24 draft, Trae Young, who is your franchise player now and is a better player individually, I think long-term than Cat, just because there's a decent age gap there going forward. So that is one way to look at this. But then you probably say Atlanta wants to pair up Giannis and Trae Young, right? So say you do Kristaps Porzingis. I think you're saying Jalen Johnson's untouchable, but obviously that can get you like 85% there. Say you do Kristaps Porzingis, you're doing Dyson Daniels, and you're doing Risashe. Like this could probably work a little bit easier in the offseason. And you're doing Ace and Newell. Like this actually does work financially. Yeah, this does work financially. It's a 2 for 4 here. Giannis, Cole Anthony for Kristaps, Risashe, Daniels, and Newell. And then I also think that Pelicans pick's got to be in there. I mean, you're getting Daniels, who was just an all-defensive first-team guy. You're getting the 24 number 1 overall pick. You're getting KP, who could be a big in the front court. I don't know if I don't think that would work with a Kungwu instead of KP, because yeah, I'd probably be more intrigued about a Kungwu. And you get Newell, who's their most recent first-round pick. You'd probably need, I think, another first or 2 in this trade. So say you get like 3 first-round picks, hypothetically. And now you're building your team around Daniels and Risashe on the perimeter. You keep Kuzma. Like, I think what is big about this trade here is, too, you want to elevate your floor going forward. You don't own any of your first-round picks directly. So I think if you re-sign KP, hypothetically, you have Miles Turner, you have Portis, you have Kuzma, you have Risashe, Daniels, Newell, Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins, AJ Green. You have a decent amount of talent to elevate your floor. You're definitely peaking at a round 1 exit, but you can make it to the playoffs, and you have a really good chance, if you bottom out this year in a way, you would have 2 chances of getting a top 3 pick to get a franchise-changing talent. this could be worth it if you landed Cameron Boozer and AJ DeBanza or Darren Peterson. Easier said than done, and you recoup some draft capital going forward as well. You can actually get part of your swap next year with New Orleans. Yeah, so I don't know. Spot Track has this off because I know that Milwaukee, going back to that, does not own their first round pick next year. Yeah, okay, so actually when it's just like this is when it's a swap. I should have realized that. That is bad on me. So yeah, Atlanta owns their pick. It's a swap worst with New Orleans, and then Portland owns their pick. Gotcha. And then these years it swaps. I'm sorry for being an idiot before. So that's the Atlanta side of things. I like that one a lot because now you're rolling out, I mean, at its peak, Atlanta is throwing out Trae Young at the 1, Nickeil Alexander-Walker at the 2, Jalen Johnson at the 3, Okongwu at the 4, Giannis at the 5, or Giannis and Okongwu can be interchangeable, or you can have Giannis, yeah, like at the 5, and then you can implement like Vic Krejci in there if you want another shooter. It's pretty good. I like that for Atlanta, and an East that's wide open this year. And I think like for Milwaukee's future, you're not getting as much proven talent as like Cat and Bridges or Cat and Anunoby or Anunoby and Bridges, but you're getting, I think, more upside in your future for sure. Now, I don't really think I'm going to sit here and think about like a Pistons trade or a Pacers trade or a Cavs trade. Cavs, it's insanely hard. I don't even think it's physically possible with the second apron. And I don't think that Milwaukee wants to send him within the division. I think it would hurt enough sending him within the conference, let alone the same division. I think the one team, if it was going to happen, was in the division, would be Chicago. Just because I feel like Chicago, like Milwaukee and Chicago maybe don't feel like rivals as much as of late because Chicago hasn't really been that competitive. You can get plenty of expiring money. Like, if I'm Milwaukee, though, I want Josh Giddey in this trade. And I don't know if they'd be willing to part ways with him. So it would obviously be headlined by Kobe White and Matas Buzelis. And then you'd probably have to take on like Vucevic's expiring money or something like that. And then every single draft pick Chicago owns going forward. So this $4 million, the Bulls would acquire a lot of, or too much. So you could throw an Ayo Dosunmu, but then like, don't you want Giannis to have like some talent around him going forward? Like, yeah, you could do Vucevic, White, Dosunmu, and Buzelis, but that also, I think you'd probably try to do like Collins instead of Vooch because Vooch can help you this year. I don't know though. It's really tough because then like, what's your optimal lineup? It's Giddey at the 1. It's like Herter at the 2. Sure. Herter at the 2. Patrick Williams at the 3. Giannis at the 4. Vooch at the 5. Like, I don't know. I just feel like Chicago. And then you would also have to throw in all your draft capital as well. For Milwaukee, like I'm intrigued about Kobe White on an extension. Dosunmu on an extension. Buzelis, obviously is a great young piece in this league. I don't know. I like Atlanta's offer a little bit more. I think Atlanta's the offer to beat in the East coming back. And I think even the Knicks might have a better package than them. The Nets are obviously another team as well. I think the Nets make more sense in the offseason. They want to kind of like bottom out this year because they want to have, like, this is the last time that they own their first round pick directly for a couple years. So they want to have their best chance at getting Peterson. Giannis would help them too much this year. Like, you're trading for Giannis and then saying just sit out for the rest of the year. So you could do Giannis, like, I guess you'd want to pair up Giannis and Michael Porter Jr. and Nick Claxton. But, like, I don't know why they would want Nick Claxton when they have Miles Turner. You'd probably have to send Yegor. You'd probably have to send Drake Powell. You'd probably have to send Cam Thomas. And then you'd probably send, I guess, Claxton to make the money work, theoretically. I mean, this is, yeah, like a 4-for-1. I think the Nets acquire too much here. So say the Nets acquire, I don't know, Gary Trent, which is not a really, like, this isn't a sexy player package. And it's tough to make the money work. But what the Nets do have is where I was going with this one, is they have all this draft capital. They own their first round picks. Well, I guess I can kind of show you guys here. Might be a little bit easier to look at. So if we look at the Nets future draft picks, they have their first this year, which I don't think they're going to trade. It's a swap wars with Houston next year. They own the Knicks first rounder. They own Philly's top 8 protected first, I think. Or no, they own a swap with the Knicks in 28. They own the Knicks 2029 first. They own a least favorable swap here, but they own their first round picks. They own the 2031 Knicks first, which could be appealing. And they could own this Philly first rounder as well. So they have plenty of draft capital to trade. That's where I could see the vision for the Brooklyn Nets. And then the last team, I think, in the East, like Philly, they're not taking back Paul George. Unless you're trading like Paul George, Edgecombe, Grimes, McCain. Yeah, it's not going to work. And they're not taking back Embiid. Charlotte, no. Orlando, unless you're putting Paulo or Franz on the table, no. Maybe they would put Paolo on the table. I don't know. I don't know after the way they're playing without him, but I don't think so, right? So Washington, no. Toronto, I guess we can get to in a second as well. But Miami, I think, also could have a package for Milwaukee. I think it also makes sense for Giannis to stay in the East. I don't want to go in a conference where they have Shea, Luka, and Jokic and Wemby. So Milwaukee, I think what Miami would say is like, we're trying to pair up Bam and Giannis in a way. So you're going to have to send Hero, who's got 2 years left from the state of Wisconsin. You would send Rozier's expiring. You would also send, I think you got to send at least 2 of Ware, Jaquez, and Yakuchonis. So I don't even think like Milwaukee would really want Jovic in a way. So say you send Yakuchonis in a way, he was just a recent first round pick. This does work financially. And then Miami would also have to trade every single first round pick they possibly can, every single swap, every single first that they can kind of going forward. So yeah, this is a decent amount kind of going back. So it's like 4 first round picks, Hero, Ware, and Yakuchonis, or maybe 5 first round picks. It's got to be 5 first round picks, Hero, Ware, Yakuchonis, and Miami could win the East this year legitimately with Davion Mitchell will stay at the 1, Norman Powell at the 2, Wiggins at the 3, Bam at the 4, or Giannis at the 4, Bam at the 5. Because Bam is very similar to Miles Turner in a way. Like Miles Turner is shooting what? 38% from 3 this year. He's a better shooter and has a better track record, but Bam has been knocking down his threes this year. He's shooting 35% from 3 on 5 attempts a night. That could be a stretch 4 for you. And you keep Jovic in this. Fontecchio could space the floor. You keep Jaquez in this, which I think is huge as well. And like, I don't know, maybe they'd want Pelly Larson in this deal or something like that. But I would do this if I were Miami. I would, because I don't think you're really, like, you would have a really good, I think, like 5-year window with this team. And then by then you'd get most of your draft picks back. You've already given them up to Milwaukee. So Toronto, I guess, is the one team I should also mention as well. I think this could have made more sense if Masai was there, because I think Masai has a good relationship with Giannis. And I think after Masai kind of got let go, maybe Giannis is like, I don't want to play for you guys, really. It's tough because you'd want to pair up Scotty and Giannis, but like Scotty would get you 90% there in a way, like value wise. So say you did Scotty, like I'm just doing this hypothetically, Scotty and like CMB. Does that work financially? It does not. So say you do Scotty and like CMB and Agbaji. Like, I don't think you have to throw in that much draft capital. Damn. The Raptors, like the Raptors are capped at the first apron. It's crazy how expensive this Raptors team is. I think if you're trying to keep Scotty, I mean, it's tough. Like if you're trying to have a big, I don't think Scotty, Ingram, and Giannis works on a basketball court. That is just like, yes, Scotty has spaced the floor well, and Ingram can shoot the 3. I just don't think their play styles will work whatsoever. So say you do like Ingram and Barrett for Giannis, like that could maybe work. Like that does work financially. And then you would have to trade every single draft pick under the sun. I mean, they have more picks to trade than the Knicks, but I think if I'm the Knicks, I'd rather get Cat and Bridges than this deal. So yes, Scotty, I think could leapfrog you over almost every single team. Like the way Scotty's playing this year defensively and offensively, like what better asset is coming back to us out of any of these deals that I came up with? I'd rather have Scotty than those Knicks guys. I'd rather have Scotty than Giddey, Scotty than Hero. I guess the only one would be maybe if like the number 1 pick is like you get the number 1 pick from that Pelicans deal, maybe. In Boston, I don't think really makes sense. So let's go to the Western Conference here, where I think there's actually less teams that would trade for Giannis. And I want to be realistic here. Like the Clippers, no, they don't have nearly enough for Milwaukee to want to do this. The Lakers, I'll just say it right now, I'm not going to really go into it. This only works if Reeves is on the table. So many other teams can have a better offer than the Lakers. Unless, yes, Giannis wants to go to the Lakers and he does them a favor. But yeah, unless you're trading away Reeves, it's basically trading every either roster guy, but it's like Rui Hachimura or Vanderbilt, no appealing asset coming back to Milwaukee. So if Reeves is on the table, yes. If not, no. If Reeves is on the table, we could talk, because you could do Reeves, connect, picks, like Vanderbilt, Kuba to make the money work, and Reeves could be the franchise guy in Milwaukee, because I'd probably rather have Reeves than Hero long term, but it's not that far apart. Like I'll also quickly say Golden State, like I don't really think they have a great package either, because Milwaukee doesn't want Jimmy Butler, I would think. So that means it's got to be Draymond and Kuminga in the trade, and I don't really know if Milwaukee's that invested in Kuminga. I'd probably ask for Pods and Moody. So I'm asking for those 4. Giannis will go to Golden State. So that 4-for-1 works. I don't even know if Kuzma helps the money work. Kuzma might mess this up if you throw in Kuzma. Well, say this works, and then you'd have to throw every single draft pick under the sun. And then you'd have, I guess for the Warriors, your peak lineup is Steph, Hield or Richard. You would have Jimmy, Giannis, and then like Horford or Post or somebody like that. I mean, Steph, Jimmy, and Giannis I am intrigued about. I am. It's a tough Western Conference, though, and you'd have no bench. And what if one of those guys gets hurt? And you would have to, like I said, trade every single draft pick you own. Memphis, no. Phoenix doesn't have enough. Utah, no. Minnesota, it's really tough. Like, unless Milwaukee really likes the idea of Julius Randle and McDaniels. And then, like, I don't really want Gobert. So it's like Randle, McDaniels, and then like DiVincenzo going to Milwaukee. And then it would be every single draft pick they can move. And it's really them getting like players. But once again, I think they would prefer Cat and Bridges over these three. If Dillingham worked out maybe, or like Terrence Shannon Jr. or Baron J was like more appealing, I would say yeah. Because Ant and Giannis definitely intrigues me 100%. Because I think Ant is a way better fit around Giannis than Dame. Because you don't need to spam pick and roll, and Ant can attack the rim better than Dame. Denver, no. All right, so I'm just kind of eliminating teams. Portland, I could bring up. I don't think Giannis would want to go to Portland based off all the intel Giannis has kind of mentioned in his career. I will say that Portland does own Milwaukee's first round picks, so they could definitely offer a package around Jeremy Grant, Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, Young Hansen, and some of those guys to get Giannis. So, yeah, and then they would, at their peak, have Drew and Giannis team up, and Dame, which would be freaking hilarious. You could have, like, Dame, Drew at its peak, Kamara, Denny, Giannis, and you'd have Klingon in there, right? I'm intrigued about it, because they do have their first-round picks back, but, like, it's Portland. And this is no disrespect to Portland. I just don't think Giannis wants to go there. So, like, yes, I'm intrigued about Giannis for Grant, who's been good. He goes back to Milwaukee. You would trade away Scoot, who's the 3rd overall pick. You would trade Shaedon Sharpe, who just got extended. And sure, we could do Young Hansen. Does that make the money work as well? It does. And then you would have those guys to build around. Plus, you would get your first round picks back in, what years were they? It's a little bit easier to look in this view. If you look here, they're getting their first round picks back in 28, 29, and 2030. So you'd really only lose your first rounders for 2 years. There's appeal in that. There definitely is. I just don't think Giannis wants to go to Milwaukee, but all right, to Portland. Portland already has a bad bench, and it would get worse. But when Dame comes back next year, I'm intrigued about that team with the way Denny's playing this year, and you keep Kamara. All right, so I think there's 3 teams here. I like Dallas. No, I don't think like AD is that intriguing to Milwaukee. Sacramento, no. New Orleans, no. Even though they do have Milwaukee's picks, they could make a win now move. But I mean, who knows with Joe Dumars? It really comes down to the Thunder is one. And I said this like on a Bleacher Report stream yesterday. It is insane that the Thunder are so good that they could get Giannis, and they're like, no, we don't really need Giannis. They could get Giannis without trading any of their big 3. Obviously, the big 3 helps it get done, but you could do like, you'd probably have to throw in like AJ Mitchell as well in this deal. So you would do Hardenstein, Dort, Caruso, and Mitchell, maybe Case and Wallace. And then you would give them the Clippers swap this year, which could be a top pick in the draft. You'd give them Philly's pick, which could be like 13. You give them Denver's 2027 top 5 protected first. You'd give them this San Antonio pick or this OKC pick. Like, you'd give them 7 first-round picks as well, 8 first-round picks, and the Bucks could really pride themselves on defense. And like AJ Mitchell, like I said, you can maybe get Thomas Sorber, Topic, or Case and Wallace back in a trade as well. I just think like OKC's 20-1. OKC is 21-1, excuse me. First in net rating, first in defensive rating. They're the best team in the NBA. They have the MVP. They just won it all. I don't think they do that. The Rockets, I'm pretty sure they can't do this year. Let me turn off restrictions. Because Şengün, same thing with Scotty Barnes. It gets you 90% there. It does. But will they want to trade Şengün? One, you would need Fred VanVleet to waive his no-trade clause. Then you would also have to trade away Jabari Smith Jr., Reed Shepherd. You'd want to keep Amen Thompson and Tari Eason. So you're trading all the young guys. And you would have to trade the Suns first rounders and the Nets first rounders as well. This, I guess, technically does work financially. So yeah, you're gutting your depth here. You would need Fred VanVleet to waive the no trade clause, and you'd get some first. I mean, I'm intrigued about Fred VanVleet healthy again next year in Milwaukee. If I'm Milwaukee, Eason, you would extend. Shepard's got 2 years left, and he's looked good. Jabari Smith, he already got extended. And then you'd get some nice draft capital coming back. Like you get Phoenix's first, you get a Dallas swap, you get Brooklyn's first. I'm intrigued about that draft capital, but it's just like, they might be like, it's a non-starter if Şengün or Amen Thompson is not in the trade. And then the last team, the San Antonio Spurs. I think this one probably makes the most sense out of all the Western Conference teams, just because you are never going to get Wemby at this price again. And who knows if Wemby's ever going to be this healthy again. And Wemby's hurt right now. He had the blood clot last year. He's got the calf strain now. You might be like, this is our window. Obviously Fox could be on the table, but I think you'd probably run into some weird floor spacing, but I think you're not trading Fox here, even though that gets you there financially. You're probably leading off with Vassell and Keldon Johnson. You're probably throwing in Jeremy Shohan, and then you got to throw in one of Castle or Harper. Me personally, I'd rather keep Harper. He's a year cheaper under the rookie deal, and I do think he's got a higher ceiling than Castle. So say you do this 4-for-1. I don't know if the financials work. It would. Like Milwaukee setting back like Gary Trent Jr. or somebody like that as a shooter. I think this would work anyway. Yeah. And then San Antonio was trading away the Atlanta swaps, their first rounder, the Boston swap, the Dallas swap, the Kings swap, like every single valuable first round pick that they're trading away as well. And I think that could get it done. I like this package, I think a little bit more than Houston's. And then if Dylan Harper's on the table, I like it a lot more than Houston's, to be honest with you. So I will say that like the teams that make sense in the East, I guess the Knicks are going to be a realistic option, but I think the best offers would come from Miami and Atlanta. Even though Knicks offer is kind of close to Miami, Atlanta definitely has the best offer. It's just, would they be willing to do it? And then obviously if like Paolo's in a trade or Scotty's in a trade, that gets you 90% there, 95% there. I don't think like, yeah, if like Mobley was on the offer, but it's one in division, second apron, it's not happening. And I would say, yeah, so Atlanta has the best offer, but New York might be the most realistic in the East because of Giannis's preferred destination. And in the West, I will say the best offer could either come from OKC. It would probably come from OKC or maybe Portland, or San Antonio. And like I said, if Şengün is on the table, we're close. If Reeves is on the table, we can maybe have the discussion. And then I think San Antonio makes the most sense in the West. So that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Let me know what you think about Giannis and where he could end up in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed for more content like this, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.